Chris Mannix, kind enough to get up and join us to recap Game 1. Yahoo's The Vertical, Chris Mannix. How are you, Chris?
You know, the second that screen grab hit the internet, the first thing I thought of was how is this going to play with you tomorrow morning? The very first thing, I swear to God.
Okay. How would you describe the look you had post-game?
I think, the way it came off, the words lounge lizard come to mind, I guess.
And you unbuttoned your shirt like you went maybe 2 buttons too
low. Well, no, here's the truth and the problem is that the one button being unbuttoned wasn't a problem. It became a problem when the credential, which has to be connected on both sides of the credential, the lanyard's connected on both sides of the credential, pushed the shirt open. So it was a logistical problem, Dan, as much as a button problem.
Oh, blame the man, Mannix. Come on, you're better than that.
If it was just the credential that connected in the middle, I probably would have been okay. But because it had 2 holes on the side, I was in dangerous territory.
Yeah, you were showing cleavage last night. And by the way,
I'm wearing a bow tie next game.
I like that. Bruce Bowen will be happy. Chris Mannix asking LeBron James a post-game question last night.
Chris Mannix with Yahoo Sports. You guys had 17 assists on this game tonight. Were you happy with the flow of the offense? It seemed like you and Kyrie a lot of times were taking it upon yourself to try to score for him.
At times I was, and at times I wasn't. We definitely got to do a better job of getting the ball moving side to side.
All right, we don't care about the answer. We just wanted to have Mannix. I mean, you sounded good. You sounded coherent there.
I hate, inside basketball. I hate asking post-game questions at those events because if you have a decent question, you kind of want to ask it, to a guy walking away. But I don't have that kind of relationship with LeBron, and I had to figure out what was going on with the offense because all Eastern Conference playoffs, Dan, we praised Cleveland for their offensive fluidity. It was sharing the ball, Kevin Love getting shots. They were the second best passing team in the playoffs at 22.5 assists per game. That offense disappeared in Game 1. It was 17 assists, and as you watch that game, it's just one hero ball possession after the other.
Yeah.
So you had to figure out what was going on there, and what I learned a little bit later on from talking to a few other people was the Cavs don't want to play this hero ball. But in some ways, it's the safest possible alternative against Golden State. And what I mean by that is the Warriors are so long and they're so athletic and they switch everything that when you start moving the ball too much and you get sloppy with it, they'll make steals. And when they make steals and they get out in transition, that's when leads go from 3 to 13 very quickly. So as crazy as it sounds, playing this isolation-heavy offense is the safest alternative for Cleveland and something you, frankly, might see continue going into Game 2.
It's a good point. Chris Mannix, Yahoo's The Vertical, joining us early from Golden State. But as you go to Game 2, it's always about the adjustments. So is Cleveland capable of making the proper adjustment and factoring in that Clay and Steph won't have a game like that again?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's the adjustment they can make is better ball movement. The adjustment they can make is, certainly not be as sloppy with the turnovers as they were, but you nailed it. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were a combined 8 for 27. They are not going to be a combined 8 for 27, at least not at home, probably ever again. And both these guys, with a couple of days off, are going to come out. They're going to come out firing in Game 2, and I think at least one of them is going to have one of those Oklahoma City type of efforts. What I think that Cleveland can do is really focus on those spurts where LeBron or Irving or Love are off the floor, because just like Oklahoma City got torched when Dion Waiters gave them nothing, and that 5 to 6 minute interval where they weren't getting anything from their subs, Cleveland can really call on or tell guys like Dellavedova and others that you've got to step up. You can't I mean, Sean Livingston get 20 is one thing, but you can't let Leandro Barbosa get double figures.
Yeah.
You can't let Iguodala just get open three-pointers. I mean, these, people focus on the stars, and rightfully so, but these are the plays that kill you, just absolutely kill you. And if I'm Ty Lue, that's part of the film that I'm showing there. Iguodala getting a rebound amongst four of my guys. Barbosa hitting runners in traffic. You can live with Curry, making tough shots. You can't live with those types of plays.
I had a couple other things outside the NBA Finals. Have you gotten a chance to see Brandon Ingram? And I know that you were pretty high on the Duke freshman, but I'm curious if you had the draft right now, who's going number one?
Yeah, I had. I was upstate New York during the week, and that's where Ingram is training, and I spent a day out there watching him, and he's smooth. I mean, everything you saw at Duke, it looks like it's carrying over, at least with the NBA three-point shot. That was, you can't glean a whole heck of a lot from watching these workouts, but his three-point shot, his NBA three-point shot, looked really good. But I don't know, Dan, if I've seen a player as skinny as Brandon Ingram. And you saw him at Duke.
Yeah.
It's not just the legs, it's the waist. I mean, he's got like a size like 30 waist. It's unbelievable how thin he is. And they're doing everything they can to kind of plump him up. He was telling me he's on this, sort of Sean Bradley 5,000 calorie a day diet to try to get bigger. But when you have that type of waist, it's really difficult to put on the pounds. I mean, that being said, he's consensus number two. And there are going to be teams, and there are teams actively right now trying to move up and get that number two pick from the Lakers so they can grab Brandon Ingram. So
the Lakers,
skinny as he is, I think that two is the farthest he falls.
Lakers, do you think will trade out of that?
I don't know. And historically, trading one of those top picks is really complicated. I mean, there's only a handful of times in league history where a top three pick ultimately gets moved. And the Lakers, they need a star in the baddest possible way. And there's a real possibility that Ingram can evolve into a star. But there are a couple of guys making moves up this draft board. I mean, Chris Dunn is a popular player. I'm going to butcher this guy's name, but the kid from up in Washington, Marquez Chris, is a terrific, is somebody that's really getting a lot of mentions, and he could move up into that top five extremely quickly. The Lakers, if they fall in love with one of those other guys and say, I don't think the gap is that big between Ingram and that player, and they get one of those overwhelming offers, because it's probably going to take 3 number ones to get that second overall pick from the Lakers. If they find that, then they might make a deal.
Before I let you go, the Jeff Hornacek to the Knicks, I know it was announced a while ago. They're just swearing him in, I think, today, but it doesn't feel like this is – I respect the hire, but it doesn't feel like this is a big deal. Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's a big deal to me, just because this is kind of, in a lot of ways, Phil Jackson's last stand. I mean, Phil, being Phil, kind of unofficially broke the announcing a coaching hire during the finals rule that the NBA hates. Just, game 2, we're going to have a press conference tomorrow. Here we go. Or today, rather. Here we go. But I think this is the most fascinating hire in the NBA offseason. I mean, Jeff Hornacek is the anti-Phil Jackson in terms of coaching. Last year, his offense was basically, Mike D'Antoni light. It was, one of the people in Phoenix described him, Mike was 7 seconds or less. Jeff Hornacek is 8 seconds or less. I mean, they get up shots quickly. And people have said, well, Jeff defended against the triangle for many years. I mean, that gives you no knowledge of the offense. This press conference today, Dan, if I was there, my very first question would be, what kind of offense are you going to run? Because if there is any triangle principles in it, it's going to fail. You cannot have a coach come in who has no experience running the triangle, who has no history with the triangle, come in and try to teach an offense like this that is extremely complicated. And Phil Jackson, as much as anything else over the next couple of years, has got to get his fingerprints off the coaching box. He's got to hire Jeff Hornacek. He's got to let Jeff Hornacek coach, and most importantly, have Hornacek develop something, any kind of offense that makes Kristaps Porzingis better. Kristaps Porzingis needs to run basically what Rick Carlisle ran every single day for Dirk Nowitzki down in Dallas. He's got to be that type of coach. He can't get bogged down with this triangle hybrid. If he does that, it's going to be a failure in New York.
I like you better without sleep. I look forward to the bow tie in Game 2 and go back to sleep.
One other thing, Dan,
yes.
and this is just, I had this conversation with Fritzy when he got on the phone. I said, Fritzy, do you have to keep tweeting at Samantha Hoops? And his response was, yeah, I sent her 2 videos, and I sent her 2 emails, and I sent her all the, you're going to get banned from swimsuit parties.
Wait. Fritzy, Mannix just broke some news.
Yeah.
You sent Samantha Hoops
Well, we
video?
know about the tweet. We used it on the show.
Yeah.
That little joking thing about that she sent that picture out just for me. And then I sent her an email with a couple of videos from like a couple of Super Bowl raps that I did to see if she'd get a kick out of that.
No. Chris, I got to deal with this. Thank you for
All right,
joining
Dan.
us. Okay, thank you. That's Mannix breaking some news here. Oh, my gosh.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.